Greetings, salutations, hello. Did you get that hello, Monty? You want to record that? Okay. So I'm here today, just chilling, relaxing on a Friday. I got a special guest today, Mr. Noah Solace, aka Brother Noah, the
Yeah,
thousand-faced man.
yeah.
Uh,
Hi, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
you're awfully relaxed today, sir.
Absolutely. I've been relaxed as of late. I've been meditating more and just
That's
finding
good because you was kind of melting down midsummer, so that's good.
no, I wasn't melting down. That was like that was the hype up. I was doing a bunch of shows or Zoom shows and gearing up for all the commercials that was rolling in the fall. So yeah, I don't
Cool.
a meltdown.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. We can go with that. So how have you been otherwise?
Oh, I've been great.
Been great.
Trying to stay safe and consistent in this pandemic.
Ooh.
Theater, theater, as you know, is shut down. Nobody is doing any live theater, but I've been able to maintain with short films and commercials. Um,
Hmm.
I've been traveling the DMV a lot, mostly Virginia. Just doing little quick bits there to keep the bills paid.
And great that you started with that because one of the things that I wanted to say out loud is uh, us artists, performers, people who are returning back to some makeshift form of performing again, please be mindful, comedians, musicians, be mindful that there is an uptick in these numbers because a lot of us have gone back to a semblance of normalcy. And I'm not blaming that on just artists because restaurants are to blame, government official buildings are to blame, all across the board. We're all contributing to this uptick. But one of the things that I would really greatly appreciate is that we use this technology that has started to be created simply out of this foolishness. So as we go back to some type of semblance of work, be mindful that everybody on that crew isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing. So is it really worth your life? Is it really worth trying to get the bag or get back to work? And that's not a knock to you, Noah, but just in general, because I've noticed since people have gone back to filming and such. People are just dropping a lot of the caution that had been set up prior to that. And because you get a thermometer test doesn't mean that you're good. Because you're simply wearing your mask isn't good. Those things are preventative measures to kind of bring down the percentage of people who could get it. So it's one of the things that I want to say because I just see a lot of people going back to normal, and I've even added to that. And one of the things that I'm just trying to do now is work within the boundaries that are set upon me. And I'm real leery about even going out to do other projects. It's just not. I don't feel like it's really worth. Um, it's not worth getting sick. It's not worth seeing these numbers go spike back up as they are because obviously our leadership, specifically in Maryland, is piss poor. Governor Hogan declared a state of emergency, but changed nothing, because nobody is taking him seriously because he's been flip flopping this whole time. So nobody is really taking it seriously. A lot of people went back out to work, and I think that's weird. I think that's abnormal. But just be safe. Be safe. I know it's a moment where we're trying to get back to work, but directors, playwrights, shop owners, theater owners, please do not rush back to this. Do not. We have a platform here that we can use right now. I know it's not the normalcy for a lot of performers, and a lot of them don't like it because they're used to an applause. But get over yourselves because you're not only killing yourselves, you may remain healthy, but you may take that back to another rehearsal hall or home and harm somebody that may not have strength that you have. So let's just be mindful of those things. But since I just blasted you, I'm sorry, it wasn't directed toward you, but that was something that I wanted to say earlier because I was asked to do something and it was not a safe environment. And I'm not going to blast them, but I'm just going to, wait and see how many people from that group gets it because they wasn't taking it seriously.
Absolutely. And I think everything you said is real and important. And it really falls down to the individual. Everybody needs to remain vigilant. Everybody needs to remain safe and follow the guidelines that has kept us through these last 6 to 7 months. But I think it's just I don't want fear to be an element and fear to judge people's approach to what they want to do when it comes to um, you know re re-enveloping themselves back into society. I
Mm-hmm.
now for a lot of pockets of our society, they are falling to a sense of normalcy. But
Right.
I think for the working artists now, especially in the professional circuit, um,
Mm-hmm.
it's not a sense of normalcy as it is a sense of adaptation. For all the sets that I've been on, even before we got on sets, a lot of the contracts are updated and clear that it's not just the thermostat. If you are having symptoms, that you speak up, and the filming is held until further notice, until you get a new test and what have you. The language is also just from what I've been working. The language is clear on trying to prevent you from going out and unnecessary places to make yourself a high risk to bring it back to the set. And the language again is clear on protocols of cleanliness and mask, and just being accepting the fact that if the filming has to stop, it will stop, versus the producer's greed that may
Mm-hmm.
drive or overlook things. So be cautious, be vigilant, as I said, but don't let fear stop you. Because, like me, I'm a full-time artist. I'm not a teaching artist anymore. So these off-bit commercials and short films is how I'm living and how I'm eating now. So even though it's not essential work, I'm not saving lives. I'm keeping people entertained. I've given my life to art, so I am taking a risk, but take this if the media is saying this is how our lives is going to be for a while, then I'm just early on the game. So what, next March in 2021, it's going to be an influx of actors and things wearing masks and doing the thermostat. So what we're doing now is what's going to be for theater, for commercials, for film for the next couple of years.
And I totally agree, but I don't want to mince words. And this is the same argument that I went through with the director that I was asked to join something that they were doing. And for me, it's not fear mongering because the facts is the numbers are going up. And we're over 10 million deaths at this point. Well, not 10 million deaths, but 10 million cases United States wide. Our state numbers are looking like numbers in other countries, in other countries. But I don't want to. As I said to him, it's not. I can simply walk away from this. It's not something that I'm choosing to do, and I'm not telling everybody to do what I'm doing. But I'm just simply saying, be safe, because I've seen a lot of what's going on, and it's not all. It's not all. Um, it's not all safe because people aren't following the proper protocol. And there are a lot of places that are, but I'm speaking specifically to those people who are just trying to get back to work. And in you getting back to work, you are actually aiding in the ignorance and the illnesses, people getting sick, because people are actually dying from this. And I'm not fearful as much as I am vigilant and aware, as you said. On the flip side of that, The performer means a lot to me and to a lot of people that I know, but safety has to be first because these upticks are happening. We're back in stage one because people are just going back to normal and they're dropping all the precautions that they have been put into place or they've been, actively pursuing up until this point. And I just want people to just remain vigilant and be safe. If it takes 6 months to do a project versus 2 months, do that, invest in the lives of the people you're with and not just trying to pursue a career. Because if you're not here to pursue a career, what career are you pursuing? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And that may sound a little crazy to people, but let's just be mindful. Let's just be mindful. That's it. And I don't want to make a big deal out of it right now, but just staying mindful and staying safe is all that I'm doing.
Staying mindful and staying safe is very, very important. But I'm appreciative for all those who are continuing their work.
Mm-hmm.
They are again, as I said, adapting to the situation as we all will have to eventually when we leave our home. So I'm appreciative because this could be a renaissance period. They're saying these same folks that you're getting these facts for the upticks and the numbers, they're the same ones that are saying that our lives and the way we used to live it will be changed forever.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, these folks who are early on the ball of the work are simply going to be doing what you're going to do 6 months to 7 months down the line. So I am appreciative that you are giving them a reminder, but it shouldn't be a jam in the face of fear. Not saying that you're doing that, but there are a lot of people who are shaming them or pointing the finger, saying that you're the reason why you're causing corona to kill all these folks now on this second wave. But
we're on the third wave, actually.
The third wave moving forth.
And as in many different spaces, and when we go through things, I want the individuals who feel attacked to understand people just want to remain safe. People are dying at alarming rates, and it's contributed to coronavirus or directly because of coronavirus. And it's not. I don't feel ashamed about every time I get on this platform throwing out that warning. But as we saw, like in the summertime, just on platforms like this, we saw many people go back to their stations, and you starting to look at these shows and they're not wearing any masks and they're not protecting themselves. They're not sitting apart. You're sitting in a room that's already, small or smaller. And you are conducting business as normal. And those are the individuals that I'm talking to. I understand that we're not going to go back to a norm as we were used to, but it doesn't mean that we don't have to use precaution and take our time. And I know a lot of people are suffering financially, right now, in terms of us being performance artists. Theaters are shut down, and theaters that thought they could, go back to some type of norm where it was limited seating are realizing that's not really where we're ready to go back yet. And I know we're going to end up kind of living like this for the next probably like 5 to 10 years, actually. But we got to take our time because it's too much confusion going on in our healthcare system and our political system right now for us to risk life or the lives of others just simply so there can be art in the world. There's always going to be art in the world. There has been art in the world over the last 8.5, almost 9 months now, and there's nothing going to change that. But just being mindful and being vigilant and being responsible to the things that people are seeing, because what's happening is everybody's taking these photos and letting people know what's the inside of their rehearsals are looking like. And that's the reflection of that is then people saying, well, I'm going to get back to work. I'm going to go. But everybody is not using the proper protocol. We're not seeing how these new contracts are looking. We're not seeing the conversations that are happening at the first reading, table reading. We're not hearing those conversations. We're just seeing the work being done. And that means, well, if this person can get back to work, I can open up my restaurant or I can open up my boutique, and not realizing, what that means. You know, a lot of the restaurants are being very selfish as to not understanding. You know, you have people in your restaurant. That means people are touching surfaces, people are handling things, people are going into the restaurant, people are pulling out chairs, and the proper work isn't being done. Because if what you're saying is completely true, we wouldn't have these upticks. And it's not blaming the entertainment field, but we're both entertainers. So I specifically spoke to that environment. If you're in a restaurant field, you speak to that environment. But I'm just saying, let's be mindful of the thing. And I'm speaking over myself. I just took part in 2 different projects over the last 3 months or so. And the second one, I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel comfortable. And in this last audition that I went on, it just did not, it wasn't being handled correctly. So I get what you're saying, and I understand the environments that you're in, but also understand the environments that I personally have seen myself. I've started to go back out and audition for things and be a part of programming, but it's not, I don't see people being completely safe. And that's what I'm speaking to, and that's what I'm trying to warn against. And I don't want anybody to feel any kind of way, but I'm not going to not say anything when I see the wrongdoing happening with my own eyes. So just stay safe. You know, Noah, is no knock to you or anybody you're working with, but just, you know, be mindful that we have, you know, to be, you know, examples for those people that you say are going to be next year trying this and jumping out there and doing it as well. But let's just do it right so we can be healthy and stay around. But beyond that, you said you are preparing for a couple projects. What projects are you currently working on?
As of right now, I'm still with Rapperlin Productions, and we have just finished a table read, a Zoom table read for their season opener. You know, if things go well, you know, we're just following the rhythms of the national theaters and just where things are going with the curve. But if things are going well, then hopefully we can have a nice social distance play at Motor House in May of 2021. Serious adverse effects. You can, you know, follow my social media links just to get more information on that. It's a sci-fi. It's a sci-fi film or sci-fi play. All black cast, black women leading. And it's about intergenerational pain, trauma, healing, health, meditation, spirituality, and technology. So it's a very, very interesting play.
Are you directing this?
Yes.
Okay. In terms of directing in a new world like that we're in currently, what are the things that you're now preparing yourself for that you haven't had to prepare yourself for in the past?
Well, just the PPE, making sure that like our rehearsal spaces are ventilated, what it would look like, you know, when we start having in-person rehearsals, if things are going well, who's wearing masks, who's not wearing masks, you know, just keeping up the idea of if, you know, our masks wore all the way to tech, or, you know, just thinking of that, keeping hand sanitizer, making sure that, you know, any surfaces that we are touching or the actors are touching or any designers in the room are being sprayed down, and just keeping uptick or just an up thought on cleanliness and just being prepared with that. And spacing of the theater, not because we won't be able to have quote unquote sold out nights like it was before Corona. So how to maintain safe distance, but at the same time try to meet profit margins, which is difficult. I feel like, you know, you say that the restaurants being selfish, it is, and in turn many are, but it is this pending question of, you know, how do I not be homeless? How do I maintain, you know, my livelihood, but yet still maintain my life and safety? So it's a tricky question. But back to me. The first half and a lot of our workings will be over Zoom. Again, we had our table read over Zoom. The
Hmm.
dramaturg is going to have her meeting over Zoom. A lot of our conversations are going to be over phone call, just going in depth with character development and stuff. So just on top of PPE and all the guidelines that the CDC has given us to maintaining a safe working environment. Those are the things that go in hand in hand.
Um, in terms of uh, being adaptable to, in terms of the content itself, um, how are you adapting this so it would fit smaller audiences? Will we see like a longer run of it, or um, will it will it be just a weekend or week? How are you adapting it
So,
to that?
so Max Gardner is adding an extra weekend to the run. Usually the
Hmm.
shows will run 2 weeks, but this time it's running 3. Uh,
Okay.
so that is our answer to the, I guess, 25% capacity in the theater. And just talking with the theater and just other technicians and folks who work with ventilations, things maybe that we can buy from Home Depot or any department store to help add ventilation into the theater, on
Hmm.
top of whatever Motor House has, and just thinking of things like that.
But has it been a thought at all of, because it's going to be in the spring, um, uh, maybe an outside production or?
I thought about that, and that was in conversations, but I put that on the back burner myself as the director, only because I find myself to be a purist of theater. So being a purist of theater and trying to adapt, there are things that I will accept and things that I just can't do. So I don't want to fall subject to the whim of weather when it comes to the show, and
Right.
because the show is so technologically heavy. It's a lot of props and lights. So we would really need a theater to really portray what the author wants.
Okay. Outside of that, on the performance side of what you do, um, how has this moment in time been helpful, or or what have been the obstacles outside of the, what we know to be the obstacles right now? But um, being a regular artist is hard because you often have to balance other projects that you're doing. Maybe if you have a quote unquote regular job, but just balancing life with now being an artist in this new world we're living in. What are some of the unknowns that people wouldn't think would be obstacles for you?
I think just the sheer camaraderie of theater is what I missed. Just
Hmm.
being able to share space with creatives. I mean, Zoom calls and phone calls are great, but it's just a ethereal, interconnected energy that is shared when you're with folks of like-mindedness.
Hmm.
Such a sharing and creative space like theater, especially if that's what you've been doing for years. It's therapeutic. It's a lot of you'd be surprised how important it was in your life when it's gone. And that can in turn bring loneliness, even if you are contacting people. We're human beings, it's a sense of touch and being present versus this virtual world. So that trying to stay busy,
Hmm.
because I'm a full-time artist now, and I have been since December 2019. Um,
Hmm.
and in the pandemic, I would say a lot of my days are spent applying for jobs and just trying to find ways of gaining income, but
Hmm.
in my art. But trying to maintain a sense of love and urgency and a sense of staying a student in the craft, which
Hmm.
can be hard. Like in the beginning of the pandemic, it was cool because it's like, okay, wow, we think it's going to be over. So I don't mind reading a bunch of acting books and doing a bunch of acting exercises and, sharpening up on the craft. But 7 months into it, that's when you really see, okay, am I honestly about this? You know, you're reevaluating your status as an artist and where you stand with your art. You know, really
Hmm.
finding new depths and levels to it.
I mean, throughout this process, I saw a lot of artists that were totally against um, taking their artistry and putting it in digital formats. I saw a lot of, I don't want to call it classism, but it just felt like we were in spaces where artists just refused to adapt to the temporary nature where we were, where we are, and were at the at the beginning of this. Um, have you been affected by that, or have you seen that? And I don't want to. I'm not bashing anyone because for even for me, there have been moments where I just didn't want to go live. I didn't want to be on a Zoom. I didn't want to, in just teaching, I didn't want to teach in that format. I still don't. I don't think what I teach is very much so uh, made for this platform, but yet and still where we are in terms of overall safety. I just saw artists that just I think it was part of their depression or our depression that did not, where we did not want to adapt. We just wanted things to be where they are. Have you come to grips with we'll never be in a space, or we may never be uh, in a space where this is possible, as long as this flu is uncontained?
Well, to the folks who, in the beginning stages, and even right now, who find themselves, for the common thought not to be adapting, I don't blame them, and I agree. As I aforementioned, I'm a purist of my art, which is acting and directing theater, the entertainment, and being able to envelop yourself into a different character. So it is a sense of from my training, from my experience, being in the space is what's needed. And regardless
Hmm.
of what your art form is, I understand why you couldn't, because this is all you know. This is your training. This is what you do. And maybe you feel like it just wouldn't have the same connection or weight if it is adapted to the digital form. So more power to you, because
Hmm.
that's the individual. That's what makes us the artist. A sense of coming in the grips with it, I I am. And the grips for me is, I guess, delaying and waiting. So, for
Hmm.
example, I won't do a Zoom play of Rapid Lemon's Serious Adverse Effects if it comes down to it. I would just simply put a delay or wait on it, or maybe we just have to wait another season. I've done shows, I've done Zoom shows early in this pandemic, and if they're great, they're good. It's not the same. And as far as money, people aren't really finding a sustainable way to charge folks to come to a Zoom show, to pay actors and designers, folks who make the virtual things. So it isn't sustainable for my bills. Um, again, to those folks who aren't adapting, make it for yourself. If you're an artist, if visual art, you paint for
Hmm.
yourself. You're an actor, you act for yourself, make monologue videos. I don't know. Mhm.
I think it's unfortunate in many situations because there are ways to use the platforms, and these platforms ain't paying me to market them in this way, but um, I just saw a lack of creativity when it came to using some of the platforms. I've been able to see possibilities and how it can be used on a professional level. I've seen many people who do have the resources be able to use it in certain ways. Um, and I just saw this as a period to rebuild and learn how to build in general with your artistry. And I'm in a couple different areas of the arts, but I've been able to see how we could use it for our good. In terms of marketing, it's the best place we could be at right now because most people are online more than what they have ever been. So they're catching the newness of what we're doing. And I don't want to keep boxing myself in, but on the same side, I've just seen a lot of artists that use the platform. There's a young man, probably like midsummer, instead of him using a regular art gallery, he built walls in the middle of an open field and just allowed people to come at will and brackets of time, and did like maybe pop-up art galleries versus, trying to just do it on a live platform or risk doing it inside of a natural art gallery. Um, but I've just seen I've seen people flourish in this that wouldn't normally flourish. I've seen a lot of people bite the bullet and learn technology like never before. I've seen these technology or tech savvy individuals push what was the norm. I don't think anybody ever would have thought they would be doing a listening party via Zoom for an album release. I just saw what is her name? I can't remember the name of the singer. Oh my God, I watched part of it. But anyway, I've just seen things happen in an irregular way. In terms of art now, how do you see us moving forward with this in the next couple, like the next year? So this time next year, how do you see us being able to move forward, minus whether we're still in a pandemic or not?
Just thinking about the local things that I've seen and that I'm currently working with now. I can't really disclose a lot of information, but just working with Single Carrot and Fells Point Corner Theater. They're utilizing filmed monologues, and that's coming up in the pipeline. Mentioning Single Carrot Theater again, they did a theater show that was outside the graveyard of their theater.
I think it was on the grounds of a church.
Yes. And there was different scenes happening in different sections that allow for distance, and you're outside, so it was a great flow of air. There have been some really trashy Zoom shows, and there have been some very interesting, intriguing, and funny, and very clever Zoom shows. But I feel like just like the scope of our land before there was a pandemic, if you're creative and you got it and it works, it's going to do it. If it's trash and it's not going to work, it's not going to go. It goes back to the zeitgeist of our art. If is it good or is it bad? So you're right. There are folks even before the pandemic who followed the same curve, did the same shows, did the same things. So you can't really expect any different from them. And everyone is called globally to adapt. They will do the same things. And for those who are younger, fresher, or just have more of an aptitude to explore and accept, still a student in their heart, those are the ones who flourish. And regardless of if it was a pandemic or not, those are the ones who would flourish in art, period. Because you allow yourself to learn and grow, to continue to be a student. So you're always adapting, because regardless if it was a pandemic, art changes every 5, every 10 years, there's new faces, there's new styles. So if you're not adaptable, you wasn't going to make it in the industry regardless.
And I definitely agree with that. I just want people to be able to, I'm not a person that will ever push anybody out. I tried my hardest not to ever grade art in terms of whether it's good or bad, because right now I saw a lot of people commenting on people's attempts to recreate a new platform for theater or such. And it was unfortunate because we were all trying, and everybody was trying in their own way to be connected to it. And I saw some innovation. And I saw, people tap into innovation and then try that for themselves. But I definitely want to see what the results of this is in terms of how people are making films and making theater and performing art, music, and dance. I wanted to see the results of perfecting it in the next year and seeing how it will, because in a blink of an eye, we got into this and now we're almost 9 months into it. But just that fast, we can be out of it. And I don't want us to go back. Oh, we can go back to the normal filling up the seats. I want to still think about, what could it be? Many people have not chosen to use environmental theater because it's just such a hassle, with lights and set and all those things. But environmental theater allows us to reach more people. It allows us to be creative in a way that forces us to always be consistent. You have to be consistent when you're using anything outside because we don't know what the environment is going to be like. So you got to make sure your platform is consistent. But I'm eager to learn. I regret not going to see Single Carrot's performance because I wanted to see how they used the environment, how they used that big campus that they were on, that church campus that they were on. And I was just eager to see just the innovation on environmental theater because it's one of the forms of theater we hear about the least because we have all these new types of theaters popping up. But I'll definitely be looking at how that works. I know we're moving into winter, so environmental theater is null and void. But I like this new addition to theater in terms of it being digital and how we can kind of harness that and make it profitable. I think a lot of artists on a higher level have learned how to utilize it because they have a built-in audience already. But how do we then, as our theater communities locally, learn how to kind of harness in that audience and be able to use it? I think it's going to take a lot more communication. So we're not doing a bunch of things at the same time and things are generally spaced out better. And Rapid Lemon, Max is good at communicating with other theaters. And I'm not saying he plans his schedule around other things, but he's good at communicating with what else is going on and piggybacking on marketing. So this will market the next thing that somebody else is doing and the last thing somebody did. So I want to see that used more. How do you think we've used this time in terms of the theater scene and say like Baltimore, the DMV? How have we been able to use this to be more united, in your opinion?
Well, I have been. There's not really a lot of shows being able to take place locally.
Mm-hmm.
Budget and a whole bunch of other reasons. But as far as the communication is concerned, this is something that I've been talking to you and a lot of artists around the scene in Baltimore for the last last couple of years, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I think just as the old ways are pretty much dwindling away and we're seeing and shaping what the new style of art and art entertainment is going to be, this blockade, and it's not like gatekeepers, it's not that. This is more of a blockade of the mind, greed and ambition from visual.
Yeah.
That's going to dwindle away, and
they're being forced to.
Those walls are being broken down, and if those folks who were holding these positions, who weren't communicating to hold some sense of leverage and ambition, that's going to be gone soon. Baltimore's theater scene hasn't reached a potential that it should have. So I would say like coronavirus was a good benchmark, right? A good resting point to see what we have done over a certain period of time. And because of greed and ambition, because of abuse and canceling folks, but not allowing bridges or creating policies of reconciliation and backstabbing and back talking, all of these ill things have caused this theater scene in Baltimore City to be on a gridlock, to be held on a box. Yeah. We aren't where we could be now, or where we should have been. So we're on a new wave now. We are starting a new bench. There are new folks coming out, new creatives, and I noticed that these creatives who are starting to produce work in this time, communication is what they want. And communication, regardless of what they want, it is what's needed, because that communication is pulling together resources and pulling together our resources in this city is the only way we're going to thrive and survive.
Mm-hmm.
There
Mm-hmm.
be a theater company that has the talent and has the story, and the other theater company has the big enough building and money to direct specifically for ventilation, just helping each other out and molding what our scene is going to be as we move forward, and post corona. So
Yeah.
it's, I mean, that's why I said, if this has been something that folks have been doing, it's over now. It's dwindling away. And even if it's not anything you want to do, if you're going to maintain a sense of position in this scene, communication and collaboration is necessity, not optional anymore.
And I think what it's also doing is forcing individuals um, to not feel the need to cross over or be accepted by a specific audience that may have a hold on, resources and such. I think what I've learned through this is the power of ask. Many of the productions that I produced myself over the summer were greatly afforded to me and the other cast members because of the generous support of other people. And I just saw that happening, but not necessarily being the only way, because I don't like to overtax a ask and making that the primary reason. But I think a lot of us have felt what it felt like to receive a grant um, from organizations that normally make it very difficult. When you go to some of these apps now, these sites now, you see them making the application process very simplified, and is not where most of us fell short. Probably was just the information that we had to put into the application. Often we may be a new company, or we didn't do that well with documenting the process over time. But now a lot of that isn't a requirement, and I think it has definitely helped a lot of us who struggle to get grant or funding for projects to actually get it. I'm starting to see kind of a little bit of a pushback because it was so easy. So now it's not being promoted as much. I'm noticing a lot of grants, you have to go to the sites to be able to find it. So I don't want that to then now be, the new Obamacare, where they're no longer promoting or marketing it because it was so easy. And a lot of people were able to get it that were not able to get it before. So that's something that I noticed in the midst of all of this, because it just wasn't possible before. Even if you applied and you did all the things that were necessary, people still wasn't getting it. And you see that if they had the money, if they could have done this from the beginning, they could have done this from the beginning. So, it's making me look at a lot of these organizations differently now, because not only did you see the sexism and racism within them, but you saw, they have the money to be able to do it. They just chose to only give it to these organizations. Is that something that you've been able to see for yourself, or am I just crazy for thinking that?
No, and I noticed the shift as well, in the
Mhm.
beginning of this pandemic. And, I completely understand, because it was a blitz, it was a shift. A lot of folks were in dire need. So there were
Right.
grants that I was able to get. What I even noticed now is something from the Maryland Arts Council that they have for independent artists. Just the language is different from what it was
Hmm.
6 months ago. It's much more rigorous, many more things that you have to apply for, lots or show that you have done or doing or plan to do. So just the requirements and the language are different.
Hmm.
And then even now, those well-established theaters are in the pipeline of the grants. But if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but just working with grants from the Fells Point Corner Theater, actually, because I'm a member there now. You would have had to. So you never assume that you're going to get a grant on the first apply. Like it's
Mhm.
always like the fifth apply, the fourth apply. Like those organizations look to see if you are repetitive in applying. And
Mhm.
so after like the fourth time that they see you apply, then they started looking into who you are, what this organization or this artist is, who this artist is.
Right.
And yeah, so it's not so like what you're saying is true, but just talking to a lot of newer artists, they get so discouraged and fatigued when
Mhm.
it comes to the whole grant game, and which was me because I just didn't know. But working with folks who've been working with grants for years, it's not something that you apply for and you're really talented or really good and they give you the money. It's like a whole system of continuously doing it and showing your
Right.
name in their systems.
It,
But
it it did force a lot of us to learn what was necessary, but at the same time, it wasn't that anything. I think in this moment, a lot of stuff was just being given out because they had to use the money, and because they weren't able to do normal programming, the money had to go somewhere. I see that. I get all that. And I also understand, there's a rhyme and reason to this. But at the same time, it was just, I saw the doors being forced open. And you had to tell people because then the money wouldn't go anywhere. You couldn't necessarily give one person this $1 million grant. But I just saw, even even of some of these awards that were just started or were already going on, I started seeing new faces. It wasn't like the old system where if you got this one, you were shooing for that one. And then we just saw this light being shined on these few people over the course of a couple grant seasons. But now you're starting to see people who may have gotten, it because they were part of this and that, but they're starting to get it, and you're seeing new faces in every grant cycle now, and you're seeing new faces in every award that wouldn't normally probably be seen. And it's not because they're not talented or they're not good, or even that they haven't applied before. But you're just starting to see the advantages be evenly dispersed. And I just want that to be a new push. Don't get, I don't, I, and I'm a person, I don't want you to make room for me. I don't want you to give me anything because then you'll always say, well, I gave you that opportunity. I want to earn it, but I want it to be equally distributed amongst all artists, whether no matter your race or your gender or whatever. I just want it to be an even process. And I want the people who are looking at these grants to be looking for different things every cycle, or every time they're looking at a grant. What makes this grant not necessarily trying to fill their marketing strategy for their organization, but or who's the most popular. Really, we're all at an even playing field. And I think this pandemic has forced the givers and the receivers to all be on the same page and the same level, and not just who's the most popular.
absolutely.
What do you want to contribute to uh, our art scene here in the DMV that you haven't seen or that you want to contribute?
Um, it's always been not always. This is like the last couple of years, but this vision that I have of a studio here. A nice,
Hmm.
well-equipped studio that can handle all styles of performance art and
Hmm.
that has no restrictions on allowing Black and brown bodies to create their stories and
Hmm.
all types of stories, not just slave narratives or coming of age, getting out of the hood stories, but every
Right.
aspect of Black and brown in the diaspora and what stories that we have to offer to the world. and just
But just on that topic alone, I mean, how does it make you feel to see all of these different streaming sites and different platforms? But it feels like now your story as Noah, my story as Nate, Marnie's, everybody has a platform to be able to tell. That's why I was pushing the streaming site so much, or the digital platforms, because everybody has a right now that we did not feel that we had before, to be able to simply tell your story.
mm. I think this is a great time. I mean, is I think the playing field has been leveled long before Corona,
Hmm.
simply because of social media and the ability to reach audiences and create audiences for yourself. There are whole analytical studies that folks, because of their consistency with the content that they did, even though in the beginning nobody gave two shits about,
Hmm.
because of their persistency, they have built a successful audience, a consistent audience for themselves. So social media is great. It is needed, especially now.
Hmm.
That's the only way folks know that you are alive and that you're still relevant. Is the updates on social media. So it is absolutely pertinent. And I think, just going back to what you were saying about those folks who don't want to adapt, I think if they just change their thinking, they will realize that everything that is expected of them now is things that they've already been doing. They
Hmm.
put it together in a way that works for the format now.
Right, the rules have kind of opened up. I don't want to say they changed or evolved even, but I think the it's opened up. So now it's the best time to get in there and reconstruct a lot of the processes and the way things have been, the status quo, and change that and alter that and expand that. I'm looking at a season that included P Valley and Lovecraft Country and all the other, and just things that would not normally get a prime time spotlight or any mention, and it'll be something that is just done in a way and is on an obscure platform that you really can't see. And I think the other thing now is it's forcing the audience to go out and look for things. It's not just going to be on the TGIF Friday lineup. You got to go out and actively pursue our things. We learned that with the Black Panther. If people have to make the choice to support, they have to make the choice to go out there and really see what's out there, and not just wait for a menu item to scroll up so you can see what's good or interesting. Or even with social media now, because of the dumpster that just been was fired, a lot of restrictions are put on us. So now the audience member, the spectator, the supporter, the ticket buyer has to go out now and look at, and create their own algorithm. And now we're understanding I'm in charge of the algorithm of things that I see. And it's not just going to be, you can't just buy, a slot. And because you have more money, I can get more attention. We've basically seen throughout this pandemic, we are on the same level as somebody who's been doing this on a much larger scale than us. So we're on the level of a commercial artist. In terms of financial gain, what are you learning about the business? I've seen you focus more in our conversations, and what I've seen outside of that, I've seen you focus more on the business side of what you're doing. What have you learned about that side that you didn't know before?
Just knowing what you're worth. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, that is the biggest lesson that I've learned, is knowing what you're worth, and just having. I'm blessed to have a good team around me. So we've crafted, even now, updated to the current state of the world, contracts, independent artist contracts for myself. So if it is little one-off projects that isn't SAG or union based,
Mhm.
making sure that I'm still represented and taken care of, and that there is legal language, you know, there's any issues with payment, or if there's issues of my safety, as you were saying,
Mm-hmm.
with these projects, if I feel
Yeah.
I have in my contract, if I feel like I'm, the producer or the set isn't maintaining, safety, that I can back out at any time, just things of that. So don't me not waiting for, I don't know, someone to drop a union card on my lap, me
Mm-hmm.
operating as if I am a union and knowing what I'm worth. And yeah, it's a tricky business, especially just negotiating contracts with producers. It's very, very interesting how the feel and the language switches and emails, because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, you auditioned, you did great, we really want to have you. Here's the shoot dates, here are the things that we need from you, Noah. And then when you hit them with, okay, yeah, that's great, I have everything in place. Oh, by the way, here's my independent artist contract. Here are the things that I'm expecting, and let's talk about pay. Then all of a sudden, like,
Mm-hmm.
this bubbly language is
And
now.
we had that conversation at the beginning of this year. Was it last year or the beginning of this year?
It was the
And
beginning of this, yeah.
right, and discovering how people address you after you get that serious, and that's something that for the maybe the last 5 years I've had to deal with, because people will call you difficult, and now you understand why a Monique is called difficult, or why somebody isn't taken seriously, because they were trying to get over with them. And I get it. Many of the projects that you and I have both tried to do separately, of course, um, you don't always have funding for it. I remember interviewing Max and him saying the budget is what he makes, and him putting a lot of his own money and his own time and making that money to be able to put into a new production. So we're getting it, but at some point you have to take something seriously. Like, do I have a piece of the ownership of this? Am I promised a portion of the sales? And we know we can't do that because we're in a space where sales are unpredictable. So what then becomes the kind of bartering system that we're doing?
I'm into learning a lot about sponsorships and endorsement deals.
Hmm.
So right
But
now,
it's and I'm amazed at where you are right now, because before you just wanted to do the work. You just wanted to do the work, and you didn't realize doing the work is this.
yeah,
This this is a big part of doing the work. Even if you have a manager or agent or a booking specialist, you still have to do the work. Like, you can't just be a creative in a vacuum, because we have many stories of people being an artist in a vacuum because they get taken advantage of,
yeah,
or they appear to be taken advantage, but you gave somebody carte blanche to tell you what to do and then give you your work.
yeah. It's I'm not going to say it's a juggling match. It's just hunkering down and focusing yourself as the artist, because you are
Hmm.
right. And just in terms of sponsorships and endorsement deals, me being an actor and a director, it's always a system of, I need employment. Like, somebody else is employing me to do something. So just putting the power back in my hands and employing
Hmm.
myself as the entity, like, Noah is worth
Hmm.
money to be here or to wear this and to do that. So now Noah Silas, Thousand Face Man, is incorporated. So now, like, if that tagline is used, that's money for me. Or now, I mean, of course, it comes with social capital and doing certain shows to position yourself as far as an audience. But
Hmm.
I have an contract that if you want me to be here for this place or this party, then that's revenue for me. And it doesn't have to be money. It could be a social revenue or just a bargaining system or just whatever
Hmm.
means that can get for both parties. But at that same token, you're thinking about all this business stuff. how do I make my money that I make from, a 6-month rehearsal or 3-month rehearsal flip? How do I do investments in other shows and things like that? So you're thinking of all of this, but at the same token, you are an artist. So me
Mhm.
particularly, I'm an actor. So I have to like get in character. And I'm not like I haven't found the ability to like switch on and switch off. Like it's a process for me. I really have to not that I'm like ultrally method, but there are aspects of method that I follow. Like I need to take time to find this person and massage and engage it. So
But just be in a moment of it. There are
yeah,
many times in rehearsal where we're rehearsing for a play and somebody does something that does not fit you. Now you have the vocabulary or you're learning the vocabulary to speak up in that moment. Like, no, I don't want to do an extra hour. No, I'm not going to wait to production week to take this seriously. So we're not going to just keep running through these rehearsals for the months that you have me. When we get here, we got to rehearse. This is the thing that I expect. And then, in theater, sometimes the production week is when everything comes together. No, because I don't have time to be here until midnight. So, but you now have the vocabulary to be able to say that. And before, many people I know I've been looked at as difficult because I'm not sitting in rehearsal for no reason until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, unless, we're really in the midst of something and it's, we got to get this, together. But other than that, knowing your worth is knowing how to. I think you knew your worth. You knew you were talented. You knew you had a dollar amount that is acceptable. You knew what that was. It was just to ask. You had a hard time asking for it because are they gonna give it to me? Are they gonna give me the job? I recall that it was the beginning of the year where we where we got that email from that person who did not want to take you seriously when it came to you having representation. And look how their attitude towards you changed once you took yourself seriously. And any other time we would say, well, no, let's just work this. No, because you just showed me who you gonna be in rehearsal. You showed me who you was gonna be.
absolutely. And just that ideology, all of that is changing.
Hmm.
Just mysticism and tyranny when it comes to directors and producers in theater. That's
Right.
those walls are being breaking down. Even how I approach being a director is very actor friendly.
Hmm.
I try to maintain a safe space and be it a collaborative effort, and just you always have to be leery. And humans are humans, so
Hmm.
you can never really fulfill everyone's needs, but you can try your darndest to maintain a space that needs could be met if you only simply allow yourself to be there. So I am a very collaborative director. I have a vision, and that vision, I work hard to craft that. But I'm an avid believer of the teachings of how to win friends and influence people. So there are certain ways that you have to approach human beings, and you know, just thinking about the last play that I directed, there was one of the actors who felt that I was very hands off. They felt that they had to do a lot of the character work for themselves, and I wasn't there. I wasn't available for them. And thinking back on that, I always say I would never change the way I approached it, simply because
Hmm.
the show was a success and that particular person performed phenomenally, even though they were used to a director giving them every step of the way. I trusted their intelligence, even if they didn't trust themselves.
Did you communicate that with them?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And
Hmm.
I always, even before the pandemic, I have like 2 hour 2 hour long conversations with every actor before we even start rehearsal, so we can have an understanding of character development and
You like to meet? What is going on?
I'm a different person when
Oh
I'm
wow!
around.
I see. I can clearly see. I understand this now. I'm just so amazed to watch this young man grow up, like and learn and grow and adapt. Who are you? But it's and for me that's even my teaching style or my learning style. I've learned how to just wait and see, versus trying to force things or to push things. Just wait and see, because eventually someone will come around or walk away. And
I mean, I can get what I want from you, but I want it to be not like manipulation, but I always follow the method of like the movie Inception. Like, a thought will last longer and have much more weight or depth if it emanates from yourself, right? So
mhm,
I know as a director what I want from you and what I want from you in the scale of the play. You already have an idea of who this character is because you've been working on it. You work on it you have more alone time with the character than you have with the other actors and me.
mhm,
So I don't want to completely break that down because there are aspects of that is real and true that's going to make it authentic, to give an authentic
right.
performance from that actor.
And always letting your performers know, this is how I've done it. It's not a standard. Is very helpful because then that begins to break that habit in performers working with the same people,
Absolutely.
over and over again, and learning bad habits from that, because then you don't, and you can do that with working with the best director in the world. You can develop those same habits, because when you go out and you get a not so good director or not to the standard that that other director was, you are crippled,
Yeah.
and you often walk away from things that could have been worked out.
And we have to remember as actors as well, we're humans. People are different. Being a director is not just being talented and creative and putting things together. You have to have good time management skills, good organizational skills. There's a lot of life skills that come with directing that a lot of
Mm,
directors don't have. They have the vision and the creativity, but a lot of like you could have the vision, the organization, but you're just really bad with mingling humans, having humans work for your benefit and work together. So uh,
but also as performers, you have to understand, just like you have a learning style, directors have a teaching style. And not every, and it may appear that that director doesn't know, because we know directors that phone it in every night for rehearsal. We know a lazy director that have gotten there through personality alone and not through any skill set. But at the same time, there's a teaching style to every learning style. So you got to be able to, you know, pivot yourself no matter where you are, to be able to be in line with where that person is coming from and the platform they have.
Absolutely, and that's why my ideology is not to break down your walls, but to um, work with you, to guide you to where not what I want, but what the character needs and what the play needs.
Chicken or the egg? Did this aha moment come from being an actor or from a director?
Oh, always from being an actor. That's that's
Hmm.
that's what I am. That's who I am, and what I did first. I stumbled upon directing simply because acting doesn't always keep you busy, so you always kind of wear multiple hats. But I love directing because I love that collaborative effort, and I love to see how I love the challenge of having to shape and mold a production, right? You have these different personalities, and I love the challenge of working with them to craft them into this character to help the overall arc of the play and their stories.
Hmm.
It's an interesting challenge. The divas, the humbled folk, the method, the snap-on folks, the folks who don't learn lines until the day of the show. Just maintaining that. It's very humbling, and on the flip side, it teaches me as an actor what I should and should not be doing when I'm acting, when I am employed to be character development, and such. I understand the stress, and I understand the position of being a director. So when I'm acting, I always try to make his job less stressful, at least coming from my end.
And I was going to mention that when we were talking about contracts and all those things, because once you know your worth and you're not afraid to verbalize your worth, and then you're taking, certainty, now you're able to show up to rehearsals on time because you know the work that goes into it and you know what you ask for and getting that. Now you're showing up on time. You are being cooperative with the director and various directors that work on a production, but you're also able to, see how you are in relationship with others. And that's why I say pay people, because when you pay people, they do the job that's asked of them. Something you always have somebody who don't want to do nothing, but more so than not, pay people because then they'll do what you're asking them to do versus, you're nickel and diamond or not paying at all. And people are like, well, I got something else to do tonight. Let me go. No, contractually, you're here with me and you agreed to that. And if you don't want to do that, you are replaceable. So that idea of it, I learned that, from my professor before I was getting paid for anything. But a lot of performers don't because they're not getting paid. So they're waiting to be professional when they get paid, not knowing that has to come first and then that comes. But, in many cases, pay people, that idea of sponsorship is very significant to theater because we never think about sponsorship because that's normally a job that's happening in the front office and not in, the green room. But sponsorship helps because it helps you to pay people.
I'll give you a scenario. Even if you aren't with any actor in Baltimore City, just think about this for a second. You're not held to any particular theater company. So, like, I'm a member of Felsman County Theater, member of Rapid Lemon, blah blah blah. But let's say I did a show at, I don't know, like a Arena Players, or it was a theater company that rented out theater projects or Motor House, something like that. You are a local actor in the city. You go to events, your marketing and advertisement stuff on Facebook and Instagram is great. You have followers, you show your face, you have social capital. Let's say you've been reaching out to Natty Bow for, I don't know, for however many months, starting conversations with them, getting deals and things. You do a show at the Motor House or theater projects or a theater that has a bar, and you have connections with Natty Bow. Now you're using sponsorships to get Natty Bow beers in there to be sold, and now you're cutting on that profit margin. You're building relationships with those theaters. There's a lot of collateral that comes into it, and that's a local brand, your local brand. So think about that. Like you yourself are the entity. So your face being in, I mean, I hate to say this, but that's what a lot of casting directors are taking into consideration now when they hire folks. They're looking at your social media following to see how many people could potentially come see my show because I had here. So use that format to get these endorsements and these sponsorships locally. There are a lot of local brands that you could collaborate with. I tell you what, I'm teaching a master class at Baltimore School for the Arts now. And I have been since the beginning of, maybe at the last week of October. That was something that I reached out to an old teacher in August with. My friend encouraged me, like, hey, like, start building relationships. Just you reach out, say what you've been doing and what you plan and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm thinking, I have to do a bunch of shows and I have to be in the Baltimore Sun a bunch of times for my old high school to recognize me. But no, me simply reaching out, starting a line of communication. Now I'm getting paid from my school to teach 1 hour twice a week, which is now online, and now I can use them for references, or if I want to sponsor up a show, now I have them. So just reaching out, like it may work, it may not, but you'll never know until you send the email, until you know what you're worth.
And I mean, all of this is, I'm still stuck on the fact that you meeting with people for 2 hours. I'm just, that's where I'm at. But I'm all of this in a lump sum is very important for any performer, any artist in general, any entrepreneur, any person who want to do something more than what they're doing now. You have to take the steps to defining who you are and kind of carving out. Because even for me, I put a lot into what I was doing for other people, and I looked up and I was like, well, what am I doing for me? And I began to really itemize and look at those things and take my own advice and really put, funnel that energy back into me. And that really has made a difference in how I'm perceived. And I noticed, I've stopped communicating with a lot of people just because I want to focus on me, and making everything about what you're doing versus who you are can leave you in a space of not being happy with where you are. So it really does make a difference, but you have to really want it. It doesn't, it won't come to you always. Sometimes things just stumble into certain people's laps all the time, but for the most part, we have to really be serious about what we want, how we want it, how we're going to go get it, and all the things that it will take to get us there. So, making sure things are financially good for you and making sure you have a stable life so you can be in these things. Because often here in Baltimore, the reason Center Stage or many of these places did not cast many of us because we had all these life situations and given circumstances that kept us from being consistent. So when that happens, we often don't have the know-how to just clear our schedules to focus on what we're doing. But that has to be something you're doing all the time, not just because a big name has called you. As we close out today, what are some of the things that you want to leave with listeners and people who may be tuned in terms of who you are as an artist, as a brand, as a possible candidate for something that they may have?
Absolutely. My tagline is Noah Silas, the thousand faced man, the distinguished, the eccentric. I'm an actor and director, born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. I have credits that span all the way to Guildford, England. I approach my craft, both be it on stage or behind the scenes,
Mhm.
with punctuality, humbleness, and a sense of collaboration and, just a sense of family and ensemble. We are working together. Even if I am a director, I need the input of everybody on board because that's how we get the best product, the best work. If I
Mhm.
am on stage, and I completely dedicate myself to the work, always in the script, even if we are 2 weeks into a run or what have you, just rediscovering and keeping the sense of urgency and love for the piece. I don't know, acting is a part of the fabric of my skin. I love it. I took the leap of faith December of 2019, and I can be transparent with you. I worked for a nonprofit organization that had me, to be able to teach theater in Baltimore City Public Schools. I was promoted to be an assistant program manager. I oversaw the after school programs for the organization. It was 1 month I made a good like $6,000, and me being a young man getting that for something that was fulfilling was great. But even with that, I still took the leap of faith to do this full time. So even if that doesn't mean that I'm actively in the show, I'm studying or reading
Mhm.
lines or doing monologues or doing voiceover work. And I'm starting to realize that it's not necessarily what you do on the ball, all the shows you do, the credits that you acquire. That's important and it's a necessity. But it's you building in your craft. If it's the behind the scenes, it's the in the house, the process, the learning. That when you hone into that, that's when the opportunity starts rolling in, not the
Mhm.
bombardment of credits.
And that is, that was a mouthful that you just gave us. But staying true to who you are, and being honest about who you are and where you are. And everybody doesn't deserve your truth, your complete truth, but being really open to change and opportunity and growth is very important, along with everything that you just said. To many of the young and older artists out there and entrepreneurs in general, listening to, taking criticism and being able to learn something and not being afraid to grow, or leaving something where you were doing well, but things happen. So now what? And often being too comfortable in a situation that is just lucrative. You know, I didn't have a doubt that you would take yourself seriously, because you always have. Is more so understanding that mindset that you are your commodity, you are your brand as an artist in general. You are the talent, no matter what your artistry is. You are that product that's being sold, and not falling into, I gotta get the bills paid. Even now, focusing on making yourself financially stable. But a number of my professors have always told me, when you chase money, you'll always end up in a circle. You'll always end up chasing it. So make the money and create those streams of revenue that you are currently in. Don't go and sell Avon if you're not an Avon dealer. Don't do that. Make your streams of income something that is valuable to you, that is a part of who you are, that is something that won't feel like work to you. But I wish you a lot of success in all that you're doing, and I really appreciate you coming on. And you're always welcome. You don't have to wait to just promote something. But you got a minute or so left. Is there anything else you want to market or promote?
No, I speaking of contracts, it's a few things that I've done that I have to review over again, because I'm not sure how much I can speak about it without being, without some issues. But I do know that I have something in the pipeline that's going to be widely available for Maryland in the school systems, both private, public, county, and city. I have a TV show that I was a part of. I think I can say the name. It's called My African Love. It's going to be on Netflix in summer of 2021. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I've been doing a lot of little monologue videos and just keeping the real fresh to keep the producers who are scoping there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Find me on Instagram, brother_Noah_ and Twitter. It's the same way, brother_Noah_. And yeah, stay updated on Noah Silas, the thousand-faced man, the distinguished, the eccentric.
And the next time he come on, his ass better have something that I'm in.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, see, no, because you're so scared, I can't use you afterwards. Things even down.
What you mean scared, sir? Why am I scared? Because I'm cautious.
You are vigilant. You are cautious. So when things are acceptable for you to come outside, then I will bring you on.
So that shows how much he's communicated with me and just in life. But that's been the Artist Exchange Radio Show. This is Noah Silas. Definitely follow him completely. And next up is Cocktail Social. So I'm out of here. Peace out. Oh, I said thanks for the t-shirt. Somebody sent me. It's gonna be t-shirt. So if you got stuff you want me to wear, come on.